The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Bock score from Nedick at the Old Garden. I'm Ralph Tycho with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I ask Hal Bock, what's the score, Hal?
Well, the score this week, Ralph, is the messing around with my sport, baseball. They continue to tinker with the game, and they came up with a scheme this week or last week which really alarmed me. If the game is tied, this goes for the All-Star game and for spring training games. If the game is tied after 9 innings in spring training, they're going to start the 10th inning with a man on second base and see if he can't score to break the tie so everybody can go home. And in the All-Star game, it's going to be the 11th inning. Well, let me say this to you. The game was designed 100 years ago more by people who knew the game inside and out and knew what was appealing and what was not. And the game was designed with no clock. Every other sport has a clock. If you're in a hurry to go home, well, just go home. We're going to play the game out to a conclusion. And don't make it a fake conclusion by putting a man on second base who didn't earn his way there. So that was the latest in the tinkering of baseball that disturbed me and caused me to write the column I did this week.
You know, I wanted to step in here a minute. It's George Case, and I wanted to, tell Hal, and we've sort of talked about it before, but, I'm in complete agreement about, his premise and this thing about putting a runner on second base. I mean, to me, it's absurd. I played the game all my life. My dad played the game all his life. The game was played beginning in the 1870s or whatever it is, and nobody was tinkering around with it for years and years and years. And all of a sudden, the last few years, we now have a DH. We have pitch counts. We have all this kind of crazy stuff. We have an intentional walk where all you do is just make a note or whatever, a gesture, and the guy walks. I mean, to me, it's all insanity. And now this latest thing that Hal talks about, I mean, I just can't believe that they're really considering this. To me, this is a sacrilege of our great game that they would mess around and do something like that. I mean, this isn't a sudden death game like in the NFL where, first team scores or whatever that stuff is. They make the, play start at the 25-yard line. I mean, this is baseball. If a guy gets to second base because he earned it, then that's one thing. But if all of a sudden, you just say, okay, you're now, we got to break the tie. We can't have this going to extra innings any later than it is. So, yeah, get on second base. It's a hell of a lot easier to score from second base than it is, the guy's got to earn his way, and maybe he's on first base. But I am totally against it. Hal, I congratulate you for taking a stand on this, because I think that the powers that be in Major League Baseball must have collectively lost their mind when they start to do this kind of stuff.
Well, it all started with
statistic. How are they going to say the guy starts at second, and the next batter gets a single, he scores? Is that a run earned for him, even though he started? Is it a run scored, and is it an RBI? Why?
Sure it is.
That skews it right there. And what they've been doing is fooling with that little extra inning by play in the minors for the last year or so. So they're experimenting, and they're ready to come in. I think they're going to need a union ratification on it. But what they're doing is casting the line out there and see if anybody picks up on it, what the negativity is. So I'll commend Hal again, just for calling people's attention to it in a negative way. Because there are going to be people, that's great. Who wants to beat the traffic home to 3 hours and 40 minutes? That's enough to spend at a ball game, extra innings, get the game over with. That's not a baseball fan.
If you're in such a hurry to go home, my recommendation is stay home. You can watch the game in your pajamas, and you don't have to battle traffic. You don't have to buy a ticket. You don't have to pay for concessions. But if you want the experience of going to a baseball game, and all of us have had that experience, and all of us have enjoyed it, then don't complain about how long it takes to complete the game. The game is the game. You want a clock? Go to a basketball game. Go to a hockey game. Go to a football game. But in baseball, there's no clock. It just goes until it ends. And it should end normally with the way it has ended for all these years. And to change it just offends me something awful.
Well, it does me. It offends me as well. And you know, I'm accused of being a dinosaur, and I guess I am.
So
but
am I.
on the other hand, I played the game the way it was played 100 years ago, and I never thought about it. And people that I know and fans, I mean, we played or we went to the game because we loved the game and we know what the game is. And the game could go extra innings. It could be a 1-0 game. It could go 16 innings, 18 innings, 20, and whatever until a winner was determined. You know, and you didn't artificially declare a winner of the game, and that's what it is. Looks like to me. This is an artificial declaration of who wins the game.
Well, if they ever implemented this in games that count, I'd be violently against it. But nobody pays attention to who wins an exhibition game. I mean, the old Yankees under Stengel, Yankees under Stengel, they lost tons of exhibition games. But when the bell rang, it was a whole different story.
But don't you see that
I haven't watched an All-Star game since 1981, so I really don't care about that.
Now, they're preparing you for introducing it into the regular season.
If they do that, that's it.
That's the point.
That's it. Yeah.
Because if they introduce it to the season, they are messing with something really sacred. That's the baseball record book. And
they messed with it when they started the interleague games. They messed it.
You're right. That's right, Alan. You're right.
Well, they sure did. You know, interleague changed the whole concept. I mean, now you know, the All-Star game is a meaningless exhibition, and now you've got all these wild card games, and like Hal mentioned in his box score as well. I mean, now the October Classic becomes a Classic.
Yeah, they also the scheduling, which is something I think is, regular season scheduling was totally insane. I mean, the Yankees had a stretch last year where they played three straight 3-game series in 3 different time zones. The scheduling is absolutely insane. That's to accommodate the interleague, which I think is, for the most part, has run its course. But who am I? I'm not running it.
I'm glad you're here because you just completed a 5-show show with the topic rule changes with David Nedick all through the years. And George made an interesting statement. The game has been the way it is for 100 years. All of a sudden, we have these violent rule changes. I contend from listening to you and David that there were substantial rule changes all the way along the line. And the game changed and people had to get used to it. Not that change is easy. Would you cite some of those rule changes?
Okay, well, basically, there were tons of changes in the 19th century. As if you listen to these podcasts, I let David do most of the talking because he's an authority on this. And he wrote a book on this much years ago, which was excellent. And the last major change besides the DH was in 1920 when they eliminated all the trick pitches, except for the pitchers who were active in the major leagues, the spit ball, the shine ball, the emery ball, and all of that. And the last big change before that really was the adoption of the 2-strike foul. Because before 1901, and the National League adopted it in 1901, where the first 2 fouls were strikes. The American League didn't adopt that till 1903. So before that was adopted, I mean, if you got a type like a Richie Ashburn, they could stay up there for half an hour fouling off pitches and it wouldn't count for anything.
Okay, in baseball's infinite wisdom, when they banned trick pitches, spitballs, and the like, they grandfathered certain players.
They grandfathered 17 pitches.
Yeah, Burley Grimes, I think, was the last one.
You're right. He was the last one. His last year was 1934.
Right.
Now, of course, pitchers like Gaylord Perry.
Let me just chime in here. Let me say something. All of those changes that you're talking about, they didn't affect the outcome of the game. They affected the game as it went along. But you're talking now about a change that will permit a team or make it much easier for a team to score a go-ahead run or a winning run. Well, to me, you're changing the very nature of the sport.
Yeah, this is if they implement this in the regular season.
I absolutely agree with you.
That's a whole other story.
Come back in 5 years and tell me that they did.
5 years. They put
right.
too much time into thinking about it and trying it out in the minors. That's got to be coming. And at that point, you've got to throw out the record books and total.
Well, it was a point. If you remember the minor leagues when in the 50s and 60s, when they had scheduled doubleheaders. The doubleheaders games would be 7 innings each. But they never implemented that in the majors.
Right, in the minor leagues, you're right about that.
Yeah.
They did.
And
they had 7 innings. We actually played not even in the minor leagues, but just playing in high school, American Legion, whatever. If we ever had a doubleheader, we did. We had to play 7 innings, and that's what they did in the minor leagues. But it was never adopted by the major leagues. Of course, now you talk about doubleheaders. They're a thing of the past. You don't even see doubleheaders on the.
Now the only time they have doubleheaders now is when. They have to make up a rainout in the other.
Rainout, right.
Coming back, and you have that a lot because if you're playing outside your division, it's 1 trip in and 1 trip out.
Right.
So you get.
And there's another thing: the unbalanced schedule.
Oh God, I hate it. I hate
about that. Now that fucks things up.
Even in the same division, your primary interleague rival is not the same. So the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Orioles. And whoever in the American League East, they don't play the same schedule.
Right.
No teams in any common division play the same schedule because their interleague opponent is different.
Right.
They've got it now that there's an interleague game every day of the season, at least one interleague game.
Well, you have 15 and 15. That's why they moved when they moved the Astros to the American League. That set that up.
I still can't get over that. I can't get over the fact that we had 2 National League teams playing in the World Series last year.
I'm with you on that, Hal. That's what I kept thinking about. I mean, the Houston Astros, to me, were a National League team. All of a sudden, they're an American League team, and they're the World Series champions.
Well, they moved the Brewers after.
How about the commissioner giving the National League franchise to his daughter in Milwaukee?
Yeah, they moved the Brewers during Selig's reign from the American League to the National League when they brought Tampa Bay and Arizona into the league.
Yeah, but it was a different city and a different name. It was no longer Seattle Pilots. It was now Milwaukee.
No, I'm talking about when the Brewers were in the American League. They won the American League pennant in 1982.
Oh,
After
you're right.
1997,
right.
they moved the team from the American League to the National League.
You're right. I didn't like that either.
No.
Now, may I ask?
I'm a leave well enough alone. I'm a guy who once said to my boss, if you're going to reinvent the wheel, make sure it's round, because otherwise you'll have a hell of a time driving this truck. I mean...
That's a very good point, Hal. Very good.
That if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
The game is the game. It's a wonderful, wonderful game.
To me, they're tinkering with it. They're tinkering with it too much. I don't know who's making these decisions, but they're not. To me, they're not baseball people.
No.
And I guess that's the new norm is that you've got a bunch of MBAs, or you got guys who think they know everything about the game and they really don't. And when you start to tinker with the outcome of the game itself, the integrity of the game, and that's where I'm with you, Hal, 100%. That all that changes. The other changes affected the game being played, but now you're affecting the outcome of the game.
Well, I thought the same thing about football when they put in the overtime rule and you get the ball on a 25-yard line. I said, I want to talk to some defensive coordinators about that idea. The 25-yard line, I mean, it's pretty easy to score from the 25-yard line. I couldn't figure that out. I just discarded my interest in college football when that happened. Right. I still don't understand the NFL rule. If you score first, then you win.
They changed it because it was the first score ended the game in overtime, but they changed it that if the first score is a field goal, the other team has to get the ball.
Yeah, they can go for a touchdown.
What the hell is that about? I don't.
What sense does that
How
make?
about all the drama for the end of the game? The guy kicks the field goal, and it's a walk-off. Where does all that drama go when the other team is warming up to,
They don't want the coin flip to determine the winner of the game.
But it does. It determined the Super Bowl 2 years ago. New England won the coin flip against Atlanta.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
On the field, scored the touchdown. We all go home.
Right.
So I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Another thing that
they would leave our games alone.
Another thing, the problem with baseball, as far as I'm concerned, is because of the Sunday night nonsense. They start the night games in the East at 8:00. Okay, and when it comes to the playoffs in the World Series, especially the World Series, I used to come home from school, the games would be on. Yeah, World Series, okay. I used to take being sick a lot that week.
3 o'clock.
Yeah, now it's 8:00 with a billion commercials every time this pitching change is brought to you by whoever.
Right.
By Geico, and you get 10 minutes of commercials every pitching change. The games go till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's ridiculous, especially if you're trying to get a kid interested.
You're right, Alan. They've now become.
They really screwed this up big time.
They're like 4-hour plus games.
How about hockey? This is going to make Hal sick. How about hockey's extra shootout? And
my son was a goalie.
Right?
So you were right. My son grew up playing hockey. He was a goalie. So I have special compassion for people who stand in front of the net like that. And what the shootout is,
with no defense,
one penalty shot after another
in front of you.
And hockey never had timeouts years ago.
Well, that's true.
Now they stop
I don't object to that so much. I mean,
2 and 3 times during a period to get the commercials in.
But can you imagine
David Hubbard and I were talking about that. There was a play in hockey that was very interesting because it could be screwed up, and all of a sudden there's a score. And that's a power change, that's a line change that because of the timeouts, you don't get to see. And there was a skill to that, and I could remember guys like Camille Henry and what have you, penalty killers, guys who skate, shoot the puck down, have it go around, and they changed the lines. And that was a play in itself where something could come of it. Just like the ball 4 thing, it may seem mundane, but something could always happen. A pitch could be thrown in.
And how much time is the abolishing the intentional walk save? 15 seconds?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's insane.
Ridiculous. And these deep thinkers who now populate front offices are always trying to come up with something. It's as if they want to leave their mark on the sport,
Right.
And leave the sport alone, my God. It's the greatest game ever invented. I think George, and growing up with a father who was in the major leagues, I think he has a special passion for baseball.
Well, Hal, I do. And you and I have talked, and I know in your write-up, it bothers me greatly when I look out on baseball fields that are empty. I mean, there's just nobody on the field. And they're only on the field if a coach is scheduled to practice or if there's a game. And to me, that just is going to kill baseball because you learn the game. You learn how to play by playing the game. You don't learn it by having some guy tell you what to do, and half the time they don't even know what to do. I've seen some horrendous coaching, and yet I don't say anything. I mean, I know the game because I was taught the game by my dad, who was a major league ball player. And I love the game, but on the other hand, I hate to see what's happened to the game because I just don't see kids playing it because they're not interested in it anymore, because the game has become boring. It's become something that they would rather play a video game, or they'd rather go watch football or basketball because of the excitement, and they're not playing the game itself, and that bothers me greatly.
Well, basketball.
You know what else they've done?
All you need to play basketball is a hoop and a basket. You don't need 10 tons of equipment.
No, you don't, Alan. You don't. But when you got ball fields and all those kids play with taped up balls and bats and use jackets for bases and everything. I mean, that was the fun. That's how you learn the game.
You know, they've also taken away major elements of the game. You don't see hit and run. You don't see sacrifice bunts. You don't see stolen bases. It's now home runs and strikeouts.
Absolutely.
That's the element of the game. Well,
that's what they do.
Where would your father have
the guy over?
The
they don't
base?
teach you how to get the guy over, hit to right.
Right. George, where would your dad have been if they hadn't had stolen bases?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. And that's the game that I learned from my dad. You know, they call it small ball, whatever it is, but that's how you learn to play. You know, you advance a runner, you have a stolen base, or you have whatever you have. You know, now, I mean, the guys are interested because they're millionaires. They know that, you know, it puts fannies in the seats to see home runs. And so you've got these guys that are, you know, 2 strikes instead of protecting the strike zone. They're up there swinging away anyhow. I mean, that's not the way baseball is supposed to be played.
Exactly. And also,
one
another
should
thing
have
that
an
offends
equal
me.
amount of appreciation for good pitching, good hitting, good bunting, and power. It isn't a one or the other thing where let's go out and watch somebody hit a home run.
Right.
Ricky Henderson could hit home runs, but he could catch the ball in left field. He could all those things that made an all-around player in an all-around game.
Well, that's very true, Ralph. Very true. And one of the greatest players in baseball history was Mickey Mantle. And Mantle was obviously tremendous power, but he was an outstanding bunter. And today, if you ask, I mean, you ask a home run hitter today to bunt the ball, they'll look at you. Well, first of all, they don't know how, but they look at you, we're crazy. What are you talking about? I'm making millions of dollars by hitting the ball into the stands. I'm not going to make money by bunting a runner over. They don't even know how to do it, and wouldn't want to do it anyhow.
And these guys that hit 220 and strike out 200 times, I can't stand them.
Right.
George, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Was your dad a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter?
No, he was right-handed. Now, you know, left-handed.
Was he able to hit the ball to right field?
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet he was. Of course he was. Yep. Now, today, the defensive shifts leave entire spaces on one side or the other side of the infield open and dare you to hit it that way, and the hitters can't do it. They can't do it. They're all swinging for the fences. They're all pull hitters. And I can't believe it. I sit there and I watch it and I say, hit the ball the other way.
Right.
Hit them where they ain't. Willie Keeler, right?
That's it.
He'd have hit 600 today. Willie Keeler would have hit 600.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure. You know, you hit them where they ain't. And you know what? When ball players, and I'm not saying my dad, because, I mean, he played in that era, but ball players were taught how to hit behind the runner. That's what they were taught to do. You know, and same with pitchers. Pitchers, you know, and people say, oh, you know, the DH and all that stuff because pitchers can't hit. Well, a lot of pitchers could hit, but if a pitcher is not a good hitter, they at least taught him how to bunt. And if the situation was such that he needed to advance a runner and a pitcher was up there, he could lay down a bunt because he knew how to do it. You know, today you see so many guys, and it drives me crazy. I'm watching them. They're dipping their bat. They're going after the ball. They're doing all kinds of stuff. You don't do that when you bunt. But they don't play pepper anymore. They really don't put any kind of emphasis on bunting, and yet that's an integral part of baseball, how to advance a runner or how to help your cause by being able to bunt.
Can I tell you why that all is? is because bunting, advancing the runner, isn't something that the player's agent can go into negotiations with.
Excellent.
And,
good point.
And say,
no question.
Give me a raise
absolutely.
Because I helped the team. The arbitrator has no idea what a hit and run is or advancing. They just look at the numbers and they look at where the team finished with you or without you, and it has nothing. It's the salary structure is the cause of it all, and the agents running the player's head. You know, I remember Branch Rickey saying to a player, or Weiss, whoever it was,
Ralph China.
Was that? Yeah, we could.
He finished last.
Yeah, that's true.
We finished last with you. We can finish last
without you. Yeah.
Exactly, and that was the leading home run hitter of the Times.
Right.
So, and obviously that didn't do the trick in those games, in those days. But yet, I'm reading a book by a guy named Vandergaard right now about the '59 White Sox, and it's basically the whole season, almost game by game, and you'd be surprised how much a Louis Aparicio with Fox getting him over, and Landis getting him over another base, and maybe Sherm Lawler, and that kind of thing, moving guys around.
Right, that was their nickname, I think, wasn't it, Ralph? Go-Go Sox?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they did, right? Yep.
So, and you know, they were beating out teams in that particular year. Not only the Yankees.
Yankees were terrible that year. By their standards, they were terrible.
By their standards.
They were 79 and 75, and they were swept in July. They were swept by the Red Sox in a 5-game series up at Fenway, and that did it. And Mantle had probably.
That's by the.
Mantle probably had his worst year.
Standards, but let me say that Kansas City, for instance, the A's spent an entire decade in Kansas City, never had a 79-75 record, never had.
No, their best record was 73 and 81. And
right.
I think it was 1958 when Bob Cerf hit the 38 home runs.
Yeah, a bad year by the Yankees is still a winning year, and they were in contention.
But what they were used to, you know, in that year was just absolutely awful. Mantle had his worst year during his peak years, and it really went to pipe when Skowron had his wrist broken midway through the season in a first base collision.
Skowron was.
Yeah, and they brought up Mark Throneberry to finish the season. So I mean, they had a lot of things go wrong with them that year. But then they made the trade for Roger Maris, and you know, things went back to normal.
Yeah. People forget that Maris was MVP in the year before that he hit the 60-some-odd home runs or whatever.
Yeah, 1960. He only beat out Mantle by a couple of points that year.
But still, it wasn't, you know, him having that year wasn't just some guy pulling a year out of his butt like a Brady Anderson or something like that. But yeah, they're changing all of the sports. Tennis, team tennis was, I don't know if you guys are tennis fans, but when they changed the rules to accommodate team tennis, it really made kind of a joke out of it. I think that's a good example of bastardizing the sport to please TV or whatever.
What rule are you talking about, Ralph?
I'm talking about the service rule. I had a cousin, my father's first cousin, owned the sets, a guy named Saul Berg. And when Billie Jean King, Fred Stolle was the coach, I can't remember.
Oh, you're talking about tennis, not Jean tennis. Okay.
No, I'm talking cheap
Right.
tennis.
Yeah.
Bastardized the rules of tennis. And I don't have those in my call-up memory right now. Alan's the one with the call-up memory these days.
Well, they used to be, years ago, they used to play, sets forever if
they have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, now they have the tiebreaker, and the Open. I only watch it during the four majors. The Open here has no tiebreaker. Has a tiebreaker in the fifth set, and none of the other three do.
Right. Now I want to get away from tennis a minute, and I want to get back to Hal thing and Alan and Ralph. I'm curious about your reaction to instant replay in baseball.
It takes forever.
I know,
They want the pace of the game to be quickened, so they give you the automatic intentional walk, but they have instant replay, and they have a huddle. The umpires have to huddle with New York or wherever the central office is at that time, and they review the play. I called him out. You called him safe. What do you think? Let's look at the pictures. Maybe he was out. Maybe he was safe. And it's going to take 2 or 3 minutes of just nothing happening. The pitcher has to stand on the mound. Maybe he'll throw some warm-up pitches. Maybe he won't. But once again, you're talking about the pace of the game, and that interrupts the pace of the game probably more than anything else.
Well, I agree with you on that. And as a player myself, and I know players, I mean, I can't imagine that they really enjoy standing around there with nothing to do. You're a competitor. You're out there. You're trying your damnedest to play, and all of a sudden you're told, "Hey, you know what? We can't play right now until we get this decision made."
Well, the thing is also that in a lot of these decisions, the manager would be, the decision went against would be out there screaming Bloody Murder for it.
Well, that was part. Alan, you're absolutely right, and that's part of what the appeal always had been to watch guys like Earl Weaver and Lou Piniella and Billy Martin and doing all that crazy stuff. But that was part of the game that existed for years and years and years.
Yeah, I know.
That was part of the attraction.
But they were arguing for the next call. They knew they wanted to get this call reversed.
Right.
It was,
and there's a magnificent tape. There's a magnificent tape available on YouTube of Earl Weaver going at it with, I think it was Bill Haller, the umpire. Bill Haller.
I've seen that one. It's a classic, absolutely.
It is a classic. It's magnificent.
Haller is so classic. He just stands there with his arms folded, and he watches this little guy screaming at him. He says, and Haller himself had to be like 6'4", 240.
Right.
And he's looking at him like, why don't you just touch me? Like, see what happens to you, Earl. Just put your hand on me once.
Well, that was really so funny because Weaver being, I mean, what he was, I mean, that was his personality. But he kept coming back for more. He had to get his say in about 10 different times.
I read
he made U-turns.
I read about a year ago Jocko Conlon's autobiography, and he once said that said to somebody, "You can call me anything, but never call me a DeRocha. That's the lowest form of life." Well, you're right. It did add color to the game, and this is now they do it in all sports now. And the whole thing with the NFL this year: what's a catch? What's not a catch? Yeah, I mean
that's a very good example, Alan.
Yeah,
an excellent example. What's a catch and what's not a catch? My wife cares not one whit about baseball, football, or anything else. But occasionally I'll have a game on, and they'll have one of these, did he catch it or didn't he catch it? And she'll look at me. She's, what are you talking about? Of course he caught it. What, he juggled it? That's not a catch? Come on.
Yeah, and the one thing in the Super Bowl,
that he juggled it.
The guy caught the ball, and because he went a couple of steps after he caught the ball, he was deemed a runner.
Yeah,
so they allowed the touchdown. Yeah.
Right.
They come up with these goofy rules and goofy wrinkles in the rules that I don't understand. I really don't. I mean,
I've seen basketball games where they stop a game and to determine whether it's 0.4 seconds or 0.5 seconds. They'll stop it for 10 minutes and look at the overall.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Well, you know what? I'm a little bit ignorant of how in baseball, if there's a play that needs to be reviewed, who calls that? Does the manager, like in football, they throw out something? I mean, how do they know? I don't know how it's done.
I think the manager has to call for a review. I think that's what happens.
I really don't know how. That's why I'm
generally
asking.
The player involved will signal to the manager that they thought that the call was wrong, and the manager will. But I think they have only 30 seconds to challenge it.
Something like that. But the video,
and the manager gets his
video
word
guys
from the video room in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
There's a coach back there looking at it to see if it's reversible. What gets me is that there's a limit to how many times you can review it, and if you review it, you use up your ups. So if you review it and you're wrong, that kind of thing.
In football, they charge a timeout if you're wrong.
You see,
that's football, right? That's football.
I understand the goal is to get the call right, and I appreciate that, and I think that's a valid idea. But at the same time, you're taking the human element out of the game. There are examples throughout the history of baseball. In the 1985 World Series, the World Series was decided when the first base umpire blew his call in the seventh game.
Right.
Or the sixth game.
Sixth game. That was the sixth game.
Yeah.
Was that Beckinger?
Yeah.
That's right.
The Cardinals came out like a bunch of dead bodies in the seventh game and got killed.
Blew the call.
Yeah.
The World Series should have been over. The Cardinals should have won it in 6, but they didn't. Okay. It goes in the book as Kansas City won it in 7. Then we had the case of this poor kid who pitched a perfect game, and the last out was called a hit, safe at first base, the Detroit pitcher.
Right.
And yes, one of the best umpires in baseball admitted that he blew the call. He blew it, but it didn't change anything. The bottom line is it was not a perfect game. It was not a no-hitter. That's the way it goes. That's why they play the games. They're games. They're not life and death. So, I mean, you just have to roll with it. And to my mind, the umpire is a human being. He makes mistakes sometimes. He doesn't try to make a mistake, but occasionally he will. And you just have to accept.
Was Don Larson's last pitch to Dale Mitchell a strike or a ball?
Dale Mitchell will tell you, or if he were around, he would tell you it was a ball.
Right.
I bet Yogi would tell you it was a ball too. But Dave Pinelli, it was the last game he ever umpired at home plate.
Yeah.
And strike 3 and a perfect game.
Well, Yogi insisted to his dying day that Jackie Robinson was out in that home in 1955. In fact, somebody put up a while back a picture of that, and Yogi had autographed it. It says Yogi Berra says he was out.
Right. Well, I think that's what Ronnie Rabinowitz always says when he Jackie Robinson, whenever he sees Rachel, Jackie's widow, she always says, he was safe, and Ronnie or whoever it is will say he was out. I mean, that's how controversial it was, and it's still controversial today.
We had a meeting at the museum, a SABR meeting there a bunch of years ago, and Carmen Berra was there. So she told the story that they were at some affair with Rachel Robinson. Rachel Robinson asked Carmen if she could have a dance with Yogi. So Carmen said, sure, and she called Yogi over and says, whatever you do, don't bring up that play.
And they joked with each other, safe out. Rachel would joke with he was safe, and Yogi would say he was out.
Right.
I have to think, because of Yogi's reaction, that he was out. Never saw a guy so vehemently angry so quickly that I don't think he could be acting that.
At that meeting, I asked Dale Berra whether Yogi had ever gotten that as mad as he did on that play, and Dale Berra said only when we talked back to our mother.
Yeah, right.
As a good dad should do, I guess.
Yogi was basically a pretty easygoing guy. except for the time he was between the white lines.
Yeah. I want to know one other thing, too. You mentioned, Al Blumpkin, that we would, as kids, be able to get out of school, come home, and watch the final innings.
The few innings of the World Series.
Right,
Yeah.
at least a few. Well, in 1956, on October 8th, I came home, and the perfect game was going. I watched that with my mother. One of the greatest memories I have of growing up, because that was the day she told me that she had been to the Lou Gehrig game in 1939 when he gave the "I'm the luckiest man in the world" speech, and she was a 19-year-old kid. She copped some tickets and happened to go to that game, and I can remember just sharing the moment of Yogi jumping into Don Lawson's arms. And I wasn't a Yankee fan by any stretch.
When I was 12 years old in 1955, I ran home to see the ninth inning of Game 7 of that series. And when the Yankees went out in the bottom of the ninth and lost the series, I started crying and punching the couch for about half a minute, about half an hour.
Well, I win or lose. Don't remember doing it, but I would have cried no matter which team won, because that meant that the New York Giants were no longer the world champions at that moment. So it didn't matter who won to me. Tommy Byrne was the starting pitcher that day for the Yankees.
And you can't remember what you had for dinner yesterday, but you can remember that.
Yeah, you can remember what happened in ball games you saw 60 years ago, but you can't remember where you put something away, half an hour ago. That's the way it is.
That's the effect
of
baseball on you, on us.
Yeah.
We're fans. We love the game. Leave the game alone. Don't mess with it. That's my message.
That's a good message, Hal, and this was a good show. Anybody have anything that is stuck in their craw they want to get out to close the show?
Yeah, I just want to say a word about one of my favorite players from that era passed away the other day, Wally Moon.
Yes, rest his soul.
Who was a very classy individual, and he came up with the Cardinals. He had replacing Slaughter in the outfield there. He was booed quite a bit that first season, and then he had 4 years with them. He had big year in '58, was traded to the Dodgers for some Gino Cimoli, and he turned the Coliseum into his own personal playground for the 3 years he was there.
Yeah, he was a great player, and I've talked to some other people, and I wanted to mention this, that Wally Moon, his last 2 years in baseball with the Dodgers, my good friend, fraternity brother Jeff Torberg, was the catcher who caught Koufax's perfect game in '65, and he and Moon were teammates there for a couple of years.
Oh, hey, get Jeff Torberg for us.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that. Jeff, I saw Jeff at a Rutgers football game in the fall, and I forgot to mention it to him, and I've tried to reach him ever since, but he's changed his phone number. I've got to get it from one of my friends who I think has it. But Jeff is very, very, wonderful guy with some great baseball stories, and I am going to try to get him on because it would be something I think he could really add to the podcast.
Beautiful. We missed David Hubler tonight, but the rest of the crew is here. Al Blumpkin, thank you for a great show. George
You're welcome.
III.
Yep, my pleasure.
I'm Ralph Tycho. Hal Bock is with us every week. We talk about his column. You told Al how to get your column when we were off the air. Would you tell the audience the same, Hal Bock?
The website that I write for is called NY Sports Day. Sports Day is one word. nysportsday.com. And I write one column a week. And at this stage of my life, that sometimes is a chore. But
at this stage of your life, you haven't missed a beat because...
No, I think, Hal, I think your columns are wonderful. And congratulations, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hal, you're a few years older than I am, and I hope when I reach your age that I'll still have it together as much as you do.
Oh, well, thank you.
I know I will never reach that point because I don't have it together as much as you do, and I haven't reached your age.
All right.
So let's just put it that way. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Back next week. If you're listening out there, I'm going to give you the pitch that I give on a lot of shows. I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't put together some lightly used children's books, put them in a box, and bring them over to the Head Start program wherever you are. Kids need to read. They need to develop a passion. They need to get their noses out of the devices and the computers. Read a book, become school ready, and enjoy what reading has brought to all of us on this show and all of us on all of the offerings we have at Comfortably Radio Zoned. We'll be back next week. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you out there for listening. Adios, everybody.